Hey project managers, welcome to our channel. Many teams have a love-hate relationship when it comes to tracking time, especially when they leave logging work for the last minute. In this video, we'll dive into Jira's time tracking and compare native Jira time tracking features to one of the top solutions available on the Atlassian marketplace, Timesheets by Tempo. So if you want to make your team's life easier and answer questions such as, are you being successful? Are you making progress and achieving your company's goals? This video is just for you. To answer these questions and ultimately be successful, tracking work time is essential. So stay tuned and learn how to take your time management to the next level. Let's get started. If you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss on any of our latest content. Also, drop us a comment if there is an app for Jira that you would like us to review. You can always reach out to us for free consultations or other services. We offer trainings, implementation services, process optimization services, and many more. So check out our website now. Back to Jira's time tracking. Time tracking in Jira is a feature that helps project managers and teams plan their work and also monitor the amount of time spent on various tasks. This information is essential for planning, creating project timelines, invoicing your customers, reporting, and other things such as performance reviews. Now let's start with the basics, and actually the first thing that you might be wondering is, where do I find time tracking? So in most cases it will be on your Jira issue screen. If not, you can access the project configuration and add time tracking or time tracking fields to your issue screen. So let's have a look at the configuration of the project, and when I click on it, you will see that I do have time tracking as well as the time spent, original estimate, and remaining estimate fields. Now, some of them are empty, so they will not be showing on the issue screen. If you don't see your time tracking options here in the list of suggested fields, contact your administrator to add them to your issue screen. Time tracking also has a configuration page only accessible to Jira admins. So if you're a Jira admin, you can go to Settings, Issues, and find time tracking in the issue features section. Here you can select the time tracking provider. In my case, there is only one option as I don't have any time tracking apps installed on this particular instance. If you have, for example, Tempo Timesheets, you will be able to pick the time tracking provider. And for the global time tracking settings, we have the working hours per day. In my case, it's 8 hours. That basically means that when you start logging work or enter the time tracking estimate, when you enter 1 day, it will be an equivalent of 8 hours. You might want to reduce it if, for example, your office hours are less than 8 hours, or you want to exclude lunch breaks. In that case, you can reduce it. Now you can also add working days per week, but remember that these are global settings. So this will affect all your Jira projects as well as the time display format. So in my case, it's pretty. Let's edit the global settings. I can change it to days or hours, but I think pretty will work in most of the cases. You can also enter the default unit, so I will set it to hours and enable copying comments to work description. So this allows you to copy the comments entered as part of your workflow transition, if work logged is part of that transitions, which you might want to do in case your teams forget about logging work. Alright, so we know the global settings. Let's get back to our project. Now, time tracking fields will be visible on the different Jira screens, for example, on the list view, on the issue screen. So as you can see, I do have my time tracking estimates for some of my work items already specified, or within your backlog or the active sprints board on your cards. Also, when you click on the sprint insight button. Now, if you don't see time tracking estimates here, if you want to change that, go to the configuration of the board and select the estimation method as original time estimate. And the first parameter or the first field of time tracking is the original estimate. We will get to other fields shortly. However, I just wanted to mention that not all the fields will be available. So for example, in this particular view, I am not able to add the remaining estimate field, which I will be able to include with my search results or on the issue screen. Now, when it comes to the issues, you've already seen the time tracking field. In my case, it's in the more fields section, and I don't have any logged work yet. I don't even have the original estimate set for this particular issue. So let's set it to, let's say, 1 day of work. So now the time tracking field actually tells me that there is 1 day of remaining work, and that makes sense. Otherwise you would have to populate original estimate and remaining estimate. Remaining estimate is equal to the original estimate, assuming you have not logged any work. Now if I click on the time tracking progress bar, this is actually one way of logging work. So now I can see that additional time tracking fields, which are the time spent and time remaining. Now if I log 4 hours of work, so let's say that initially I estimated that it will take me altogether 8 hours or 1 day of work to complete this task. Now I've worked on it for 4 hours and I want to log this effort. So now Jira reduced the remaining estimate for me automatically. Now I can also set the date I started working on my task together with the time and add a description and hit save. Now the time tracking progress updated, indicating that I'm halfway through, and I can also view, edit as well as delete in the workload tab of the activity section. So here I can click edit and I will be back to that screen, so I can correct my log work or I can also delete it. Now there is one thing missing here, and I think it would be great to include a tracker that will help me to measure how much time I have spent on it. It's not available in Jira Core. However, as you will see shortly, Timesheets has this feature. Also, if I start logging work as a different user on that particular issue, Jira will not allow me to generate a report showing me who has logged work on that particular issue. So that's another thing that I think is missing in case of Jira Core features, but this gap is bridged by other time tracking apps. However, what you can do here is actually create an automation that will reduce the remaining estimate whenever you resolve the issue. As an example, this would be very useful when you, for example, overestimated, you did log the work, but there is still some work remaining, and instead of manually reducing the remaining estimate, you can simply make Jira do it for you. So far so good. That's one of the basic use cases for time tracking. And let's complicate it a little bit. Let's go back to the time tracking and let's say I've logged 5 hours this time, so I have underestimated the issue. Now you'll see on the progress bar another section appeared indicating that I'm 1 hour over the original estimate. So when I save it, it will be also indicated on the progress bar. And there is a field in Jira called work ratio that will help you to show how accurate your estimations were. It will compare the actual work logged versus the original estimates, which will be very helpful when forecasting the workload for your future projects. So here we have exceeded the initial estimation, hence the work ratio will be above 100%. A nice field to use. I will show you that in the later part of the video. Now let's compare what I just did to instance where I have Timesheets installed. And the first thing you'll see is that the fields here differ slightly. I do have the time remaining field and I do have the original estimate. However, I do not see the time tracking progress bar. And that's because when you install Tempo, the time tracking has a separate section on your issue screen. So I have the estimated effort, the remaining effort, and the log time button. On top of that, I also have the contributors section where I can view who actually logged work on that issue, as well as the trackers. And I really like this part, especially that I can add multiple trackers. And when I do that, you'll see that I can start measuring how much time it took me when I was working on that particular issue. Also, I can pause it at any time and resume later on, or add a description to what I was doing to keep my work log tidy and clear. It's a great simple feature to have, especially since you might sometimes forget when you're switching between issues and start working on a different one, forget how much time you have spent on it. Great feature to have, will definitely make your work logs more accurate. Tempo also offers trackers for your browser, so you can track your time on different activities when you are using different web apps. When it comes to logging work, you can click on the log time button and you will see a slightly different interface here compared to what we had in core Jira. Here you can select the issues that you were working on, so you don't have to necessarily log work to the particular issue that you are currently viewing. There are also filters that will allow you to search for the issues that belong to a specific project that you marked as favorite, that are assigned to you or have a specific status, or are, for example, internal. So the internal are a special category of issues that you can define in Tempo, which are used to track time spent on non-project related and non-billable activities within your organization. This is another great feature to quickly find the tasks you want to log work on. Also, you will see a list of your recently viewed issues, so again that helps you to find what you've been working on in case you forgot. Now when it comes to logging work, you can set the date on which you did the work, you can set the duration, or simply the time interval when you were working on an issue. So let's say I worked on this issue until 10, which amounts to 2 hours duration. Just like in Jira, you can add the description and also customize what other fields you would like to use. So in that case, we can edit the original estimate, which would be again reduced, just as in the previous example. You can also log work on the account of other users. What I also really like is this small calendar right here telling me what other activities I have already worked on, as well as other planned activities that I might want to work on later that day. Now this view is customizable, so you can define which fields will be visible, which will be required, as well as which one will be hidden. So already we can see that there are several things that differ compared to the time tracking in Jira, and let's log some work. The remaining estimate was reduced accordingly, reduced by 2 hours, and I see that I've logged 2 out of 8 hours for this particular task. The information will be also saved in the work log in a slightly different form, so you see that we have the date, we have the description, and we have the time spent. Alright, so we covered the basics. Now let's see what we can actually do with the work logs. As I mentioned in the previous part of the video, there are several screens where you can use the time tracking data. First one that I would like to cover is the actual filter screens where you can view your results. So I also promised that I will get back to the work ratio of it. So this is actually one of the screens when you can view the work ratio. So let's enter a query, for example, time spent not empty, so that we have some time tracking data. And as you can see, I do have the task that I worked on. Now, what you can do here is switch to the list view. And in this particular view, you will be able to add other fields such as the time spent, original estimate, some of the original estimates in case you have children issues, remaining estimate, right, let's add both, and the already mentioned work ratio. Alright, now let's have a look at my first task, export the video, for which I had an original estimate of 1 day, the remaining estimate was 0, however I did logged 1 hour above the initial estimate. Hence, my work ratio, or the ratio between the spent time and original estimate, is equal to 112%, indicating that I have underestimated this task. So it would be a good idea to investigate the estimation process or investigate potential blockers. When the work ratio is below 100%, that means that work is progressing efficiently and within the estimated time. When it equals 100%, this means that the work is on track according to the initial estimation. So that's one view which you can export and customize so you'll know who worked on what, but there are also other views where you can use that. For example, have a look at the available report. So a lot of reports here use time tracking in one way or another, but there are two dedicated time tracking reports, actually three, used for forecast and management. So that would include the time tracking report here. You can narrow it to a specific fixed version, sort by different criteria, decide whether you want to include all issues or incomplete issues, and let's hit next. What you can see here is a report for my particular project showing me the original estimate, the estimated time remaining, time spent, and accuracy in that case compared to work ratio. It shows you in the number of hours when the time spent exceeded the original estimate. I also have a progress report here and an accuracy telling me by how much you are behind the original estimate. So in my case, that's 2 hours out of 3 days and 2 hours altogether as the sum of all the original estimates. Now there are other reports and screens where you can use Jira's time tracking, but as we have worked with hundreds of our customers, there is always something missing when it comes to native Jira features, including reporting. So if you want to unlock full potential of Jira with customizations tailored to your team's needs, reach out to us and we'll help you customize Jira to fit your unique requirements, boosting productivity and team's satisfaction. Plus, we can help you select the best apps to support your processes, enhancing your Jira experience even further. If you want to learn more about time tracking, let us know in the comments. Now let's have a look at Tempo's capabilities when it comes to reporting. To access Tempo, all you need to do is select Tempo from the apps drop down and you will be redirected to the app. There are plenty of features here and it would take several hours to go over all of them, hence we will not be diving deep into each one. However, it's worth mentioning that if you want to master Tempo timesheets or, as a matter of fact, other Tempo tools from the Tempo suite, reach out to us. We can not only help you and advise on which tools will work for you best, but we also offer online trainings when it comes to Tempo suite or other PPM tools. The first view that you'll see here is the calendar view. In the top right corner we have 4 different views available. Let's go over them briefly one by one, starting with the calendar. It shows you all your planned activities together with the ones that you've already logged work, and when you click on it you will see the log time pop-up that we've already discussed, so I won't get into details here. You can create, edit and delete your time record. So what I also really like is this button right here where you can log all activities that you have planned for this particular week. You have a roll-up of all these activities and the bar indicating the amount of logged work versus your capacity. So here, another great feature for each of the users, you can set what is their capacity or how many hours per week they'll be available. This is something that was a global setting. In case of Jira's time tracking, here it's per user. So definitely a must-have feature, especially when your colleagues work part-time or work in a different way. Now let me close this. Now you also have the list of issues from the project, recently opened issues, assigned, and so on and so forth. So something similar to what we've seen on the log work screen. What I also really like is it's all customizable, so you can configure this issue picker and add custom issue list to it. Other than that, we have some filters here where you can decide which data is presented, so whether you want to show Jira issues, the planned issues, or issues for which you set the tracker. So a good reminder to have, as well as incomplete activities and rejected activities. You can also customize how the data is presented here, set my work hours, set the date and time formats, and other settings. Now the next view here is the list view. So it's kind of similar to what we've seen previously, but the data is organized into sections. So I have my work logs, I have the list of activities, I have the list of planned activities. The main difference here is your activities are logged after the work is done, while plans are created before the work has started. Activities are kind of a historical record, whereas plans help in future scheduling and resource allocation. Kind of similar, just a different interface when it comes to working with data. You can navigate between the different weeks, and as you can see here, I only have planned work. I don't have any activities in that particular week. Now, one of the most interesting views is the actual timesheet. So here I'll see all the issues that I have logged worked on, and I can also easily log work on specific dates simply by clicking on one of these cells. I also have a summary of all the workloads, and I can also decide whether I want to submit my record, or in case I have submitted my record to my manager and it was rejected, fix it and submit it again. So again, another feature that is not available in Jira. Now, what is also important is the ability to export all this data for your managers, for the record, for your accounting teams. You can do it in different formats: PDF, XLS, CSV, printable view, or just download the raw data. You can also bulk edit this logworks and, for example, add billable hours for all these records. Now the last section here is the approvals, so your manager can view it and approve it or reject it. Now there are other options here. Some of the screens will work with other Tempo apps from the Tempo suite, but we can also use the report section here. There are 4 different reports which you can use, starting from the log time report, planned time report, planned versus actual, as well as the team member capacity. So I won't be going into details with each of these reports. You can actually see a sample reports just below. So it adds on top of what we had in Jira. It takes into account the capacity of your resource, takes into account the non-working days, all their workload plans, their holiday plans, their absences. All this is taken care of, so you don't have to work around it in Jira by creating tasks for each absence. Here they are already included in the capacity reports, and in case of the log report, you can show how much time was spent on each of the tasks, what were the billable hours, what was the time was spent on the issue. You can customize these reports, group in different way, export in various formats, and do many other things. So again, accurate time tracking is one of the most crucial aspects of effective project management. With Tempo timesheets, you can seamlessly integrate time tracking into your Jira workflow, ensuring precise data across all your projects. If you want to learn how to configure your timesheets, set up custom reports, automate time logging, and monitor team's performance effortlessly, reach out to us. We will help you with the configuration of the tool, as the proper setup guarantees smooth operations, high tool adoption, and immediate visibility into your project's progress. Don't waste time on trial and error or risk frustrating your team with inefficient processes. Reach out to us and we'll help you maximize the benefits of Tempo timesheets or other Jira PPM tools, ensuring your team stays on track and productive. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.